All right, welcome back. We're going to work on forward bends now. So back bends are energizing poses. They open the heart. They help us to feel more energy. They help us to have the feeling of creating energy. Forward bends are more calming. They're more calming postures. And they're poses of humbleness. So what do I mean by being humble? To be humble isn't meekness. It isn't putting yourself below anybody. To be humble means you're equal. You're not better than anybody, and you're not worse than anybody. I'll tell you a little story just to kind of illustrate the feeling of that. So the rabbi was delivering the service, and after the service, he tore his shirt in front of the front altar there, and he said, "I'm not worthy, Lord, I'm not worthy." And then the president of the congregation stood up, and he ripped his shirt, and he said, "I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy." And then the janitor stood up, and he said, "I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy." And the rabbi spoke to the president, "Look who thinks he's not worthy." You guys get that? So it's to be humble isn't to place yourself above people. And it's also not to make yourself less than other people. It's to be equal. Why is that important? Because when you're equal, you can get help from anyone and anything. You haven't placed yourself above somebody. You haven't placed yourself beneath somebody. You're not better than, and you're not unworthy. You're equal. And so help can come to you from any direction. That's what being humble is. It's recognizing your equality. And it's also recognizing the equality of the person you're working with. They're not less than you, and they're not better than you, okay? So it gives you all kinds of access to assistance energetically and emotionally and physically in your life that you wouldn't have available to you, or you wouldn't see, because you would be better than it, or you would be not worthy enough to get that help and that assistance. So forward bends do that. But again, there's an alignment in a forward bend. So you can feel a certain way and hold your body a certain way. And you can hold your body a certain way and feel a certain way. The law of reversibility, and because you're a human being with this huge frontal lobe, you can literally change how you feel by changing your posture. You're the only animal who can deliberately, intentionally change your posture or change how you're breathing consciously. Your dog can't do that. Your cat can't do that. Your parakeet can't do that. But you can do that, okay? You can change your posture. So what does that mean? Even if you're feeling stressed, you can take a deep breath. Even if you're feeling afraid, you can open your heart. You can relax your shoulders. So this is your superpower, because if you do that, then you won't react. Your heart will be open, your armor will be off. You won't have to react to the situation, you can respond. The animal in you reacts, the master in you responds. Okay, there's a big difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is just the repetition of the same old script. Responding, oh, there's something new available. I can make a different choice. I can have a different outcome, a different experience. So forward bends, we can run into some of the same misalignments that we were talking about earlier. Most people do forward bends like this. And in fact, this is the first yoga book that I taught myself yoga from like 35 years ago. Shivananda's Guide to Yoga. This is how people were doing forward bends, but they had leotards on. Okay, so the most common injury in yoga is having straight legs, a round back, and pulling in a forward bend, whether you're seated or standing. Pop go your hamstring insertion points, pop go the discs in your back. Number one cause of injury in yoga, okay? So what do we do about that? We want to have we want to be aware of the same alignment that we were working on in our back bend. So that means I unlock my hamstrings, I tilt my tail back, my chest lifts up, my shoulders come down. I'm able to unkink my neck, and I get my belly on my thighs. So your body will tell you how far you can go in your forward bend suited to your exact needs in this moment if you pay attention. And it'll challenge you. It'll really challenge you. It'll take you to the exact right point for you today in this moment, which might be different than yesterday and will be different than tomorrow. If you can keep your belly on your thighs, and if you can keep your knees together and your ankles together, you can straighten your legs as much as you want. But at a certain point, if one of those things stops happening, that's your body saying, well, we need to develop strength here, or we need to develop more openness here, or we need to develop more integration here. So knees together, ankles together, belly on your thighs, back bend in your forward bend, not neck bend in your forward bend. Back bend in your forward bend. Shoulder blades together, heart is up. With your belly on your thighs, you scoop your tail back and you go into your back bend, maybe grabbing hold of the balls of the big toes, for example, pushing the balls of your feet forward, and you breathe. And then you stretch the belly of the hamstring and you don't pull the insertion points of the hamstring, which is where you want to feel the stretch. And you're working on strengthening your back in your pose, and you're stretching your hamstrings very effectively. Right now, I feel a really nice stretch on my hamstrings. Right now, I feel absolutely no stretch on my hamstrings. The stretch of the hamstrings comes from this. It comes from the tilt of the pelvis. It doesn't come from straight legs. So if your tail is tucked and your legs are straight, you're not stretching your hamstrings at all. That's why you'll pull so deep that your back will go pop, or you'll pull so deep past the point, you'll start to really stretch your hamstrings, but you're just pulling on the insertion points, and that's why you'll risk pulling a hamstring. Okay, so it's the tilt of the pelvis. The tilt of the pelvis in a forward bend is a back bend tilt. It's a back bend tilt in your forward bend. Then you can get your belly on your thighs and you can keep your heart open. Even in a yin pose, I don't recommend just hanging out. Because also when you hang out, your shoulders come up and your neck shortens. So even in a yin pose, you can keep a little bit in your knees and lift your chest, and you'll get much more effective of a stretch and not feed your habits and hang out in your habits for 3 minutes. Okay, so Paschimottanasana, go ahead and extend your legs straight in front of you. And keep your legs straight, but tuck your tail towards your heels. So round your back, round your lower back. So we could probably hang out here a long time, right? We're used to, this is computer pose, right? We can hang out here a long time. This is being at work pose, right? So now just roll forward a little bit. And do you feel a stretch? Use your hands to help you, so don't hurt yourself, and don't pull for God's sake at all, but just round forward and go to where you start to feel a little stretch, and then stop there. So notice doing this, have your shoulders come up to your ears. Also notice you might start to feel the stretch in your calves before you feel it in your hamstrings. That's an indication that you're working on the insertion points more than the belly of the muscle. You also might feel it in your, do you feel your lower back rounding? Do you feel, especially up on top of the sacrum, that's taking a lot of strain? Okay, so now come back up. Bend your knees a little bit and bring your ankles and your knees together. A lot of times what happens here too is the arches sickle back towards your face. So push your arches away from you. That helps you to keep your ankles and your knees together. If your arches sickle in, it's like your knees are going to start to move apart. So push the arches forward and bring your ribs into your upper thighs. So how deep do I bend my knees, Jeff? Pull your knees up until your belly touches your thighs with your tail back and your chest up and your shoulder blades down away from your ears. Good. Now, pushing the arches away from you, see if you can grab the balls of your feet with your chest, the big toes, with your chest still up. If you can't, bend your knees a little deeper, walk your heels a little closer. Belly in your thighs, knees together, chest up, shoulder blades together, back of the neck long. Don't lift your chin. So drop your chin, look at your ankles, and bring your shoulder blades together, just like you did in your back bend. Now, only bring your heels further away from you if you can push the arches away, keep the ankles together and the knees together, and keep your belly on your thighs. So go slow and pay really close attention. Go slow so you can find that point where you're going to start to lose the ankles, the knees, or the back bend. And that's going to be your edge. So when you find that, good, hold there and just stay there for a moment. Push your arches forward, Bring your shoulder blades together more. Find your back bend. Drop your chin. Drop your chin way down. Now bring your shoulder blades together. Now lift your collarbones instead of your chin. Up to the ceiling. Lift your chest up to this. There you go. Don't let your arches sickle in. Push your arches away from you. Good. Shoulder blades together. Lift your collarbones up. Very nice. Put your arches forward. You just fixed your own neck because I was walking by. Drop your chin. Bring your shoulder blades together. Now lift your collarbones up. There you go. Push your arches forward and breathe. Just a couple more breaths. Come up a little more. Bend your knees a little deeper. Take the kink out of your neck. Shoulder blades together. Lift your chest up. Back bend 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 up. Tail way back. Way back. Way back. That's it. Now only go forward if you can keep your back up like that. Good job, Heidi. Just turn your palms on your side of your legs and bring your shoulder blades together. Good. Can you do this 2 more breaths? Angel's wings coming right there. Now lift your collarbones up. That's excellent. Did you feel a little more stretch on your hamstrings when you did that? Drop your chin just a little bit. Now bring these together. That's it. And you notice how your chest lifted when you did that? Now push your arches away from you. Don't let them go towards your face. Push your arches out. That's it. Bend your knees more, shoulder blades together. Lift your collarbones up, back bend up. Don't lift your chin, collarbones up. For 3, do this. Try and pinch my finger with your shoulder. There you go. Now lift your chest up. 2, there, you did it. And 1, release, come all the way up. Did you feel a hamstring stretch? That's an active stretch. It's so much better than just hanging out with straight legs. You might get a little hamstring stretch hanging out with straight legs, but here you're stretching and strengthening the hamstrings, okay? You're also using your quads a little bit, which means that you're engaging your quads, so you're helping your hamstrings release, because when your quads engage, your nervous system signals your hamstrings to release. Your body's built that way because when you're walking, your quads engage, and they automatically tell your hamstrings to relax. Otherwise, you'd be snapping your hamstrings every day when you just walk. Get out of bed or walk into the kitchen. So every time that you engage your quad, the nervous system says, relax the hamstring, relax the hamstring, relax the hamstring. So when you engage your quads, you're already halfway into the hamstring stretch with your nervous system helping you because it's signaling your hamstring to release, to release, to release. Okay? So what I just did with you, find a partner, get them into the pose, get them set up for the pose. Are you beginning to sense how important it is to set people up in the pose correctly? Because it's a lot easier to help people before they go into the pose. Then it's not impossible, but it's easier than to try and fix it after they've started. So see if you can find someone on the other side of the room or someone you haven't worked with yet. If you can't, that's okay. But find someone you haven't worked with yet if possible. Decide who wants to be the student first and set up for Paschimottanasana, guide them into it. Ankles and knees together. You need the belly to touch the thighs. And you're going to bring them into their fullest aligned expression of Paschimottanasana. Look at all the same alignment points. That was excellent. Very good. Good. So she might even be doing it too much. Okay. So we don't want to go too much. You get just like the middle path. Okay. Yeah. Good. You see how the arches want to kind of go back? So you push the arches. Oh, yeah, there you go. Did you feel more stretch when you did that? Yeah. See, just little tiny, when you're doing it correctly, little tiny adjustments like that, you get like a lot of stretch. Yeah. Yep, so same thing. See how the arches are trying to do that? And so we're gonna push the arches forward. Yeah, way forward. And then bring your shoulder blades together and there you go, good job. Did you feel a little more stretch? Yeah. And then you pull your little toes back.
Can I like do that?
Well, you can, but when you do that, then your shoulders are more likely to do that. So if you grab here, what you can do is pull your little toes back like that, like that. There you go. And then tilt your tail back if you want more of a back bend. And now, if you still can do it, keep your belly and your thighs and your knees together. Now you can walk your heels forward more. Yeah, good. Where are you feeling a pinch in your back?
In the middle or right here? We're talking about that spot.
Oh yeah, you don't want to feel a pinch there, but you just want to feel like angel's wings kind of resting back there. So instead of blowing out, lift more up. Yeah. All right, go ahead and switch. Have the student teach the teacher, and the teacher is now the student. So get an eye, teachers, see if they can keep their belly and their thighs and their knees together. Let them know if they come apart. Little things like pushing your arches forward or pulling your little toenails back are going to actually intensify the stretch, along with the tilt of the pelvis. For him, yeah. So come on over here. Let's see if you can see what I'm seeing. So you see the legs are a little bit apart and the arches are going like this.
Ooh, okay.
So bring the knees, the ankles together and push the arches forward. Yep, and then we kind of want to find the back bend and the forward bend. So help her to do that and then to lift up. Yes, there it is. There it is. There it is. See, and you just did Jalandhara Bandha on your own. Like you just drew your chin in because your chest lifted. And so these arches are going way back. So you're gonna push, yep, bring your little toes back is another way to think of it. That's okay. That's much better than what you were doing before. That's good. Now it feels like more of a stretch, right? Yeah, but you're smiling, so that's good.
I'm sweating too.
Yeah, and now squeeze your knees a little bit together and lift your heart up a little. There you go. Good job. Do it slow though. Don't hurt yourself. Very nice. One, two.
She's just not feeling any.
No stretch.
Right. So.
Okay, drop your chin. Drop your chin more. Bring your shoulder blades way together. Now, lift your tail back and lift your chest up. Bend your knees more. Yeah. Now lift your bring your tailbone back and lift your chest up. Back bend, back bend, back bend, back bend, back bend. That's it. Okay, then you got to bring your feet back further. Yeah. Shoulder blades. Yeah, don't lift your chin. Shoulder blades together. Shoulder blades together.
I have to bring your feet.
Yeah. It's okay.
But we want to find that hamstring stretch.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. We got to get this first, then we'll find it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they together? Or do I have to bring them in more?
Separate your shoulder blades way out just so you feel what that's like. Okay. So now don't even grab your legs. Just put your fingertips on the floor. And so now, instead of lifting your chin, drop your chin and just bring your shoulder blades together. That's it. And shoulders down. Shoulder blades together and shoulder. There you go. There you go. So now push your ribs forward. There. That's it. Now bring your toe. You're gonna feel a hamstring stretch. So just take hold of your shins. Keep your tail back. There you go. Keep that. Now move your heels a little further away from you, and the ankles and your knees are together. Stop. Stop. That's it. And keep that back bend. Good. And then go a little further and squeeze your knees and your ankles in. Stop there. Push your arches away from you. Bring your little toes towards your face. Little toes towards your face. There you go. Take your hands further. Put your palms on the side. Now, yeah, find your back. Exactly right. Find your back bend. There you go. Lift your chest up. Tilt your tail way back. Can you feel the stretch now? Okay, well, go a little further. You're obviously working muscles that you don't usually work.
Yeah.
So you'll start to feel this stretch, but you have to, like, you're going through muscles that you don't usually use right now.
Yes.
And so as you go further, you'll start to be able to get more, a feeling of stretch.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to get it by grabbing your toes. Because you're not grabbing your toes, it shows that there's some stretch that's available to you that you're not able to access yet.
Yeah.
Because you can't even grab your toes unless your feet are way back with a back bend. So you're actually a little bit tight. There's a little tightness there.
Okay. In up here
Or in your hamstrings
on the
too.
hamstring.
Yeah. So the body can learn to kind of fudge it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can do all kinds of other things instead of actually stretching your hamstrings.
Yeah.
Just like in a twist, we can just push that bottom leg way forward and think we're twisting, when really we're not twisting at all. We just blew our pelvis out. Instead of turning our chest, we just blew our pelvis out, you know? So when you learn to do this, you're actually going to get a lot stronger. You get a lot not only in your legs, but in your whole body. Because the reason you were shaking is because your nervous system is trying to get muscles to work that don't usually work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Improper alignment.
Yes. Yeah.
You were feeling it a lot. Mine's the same way. I don't have any sensation in my hamstrings, but
It is like in my
Okay, so bend your knees and bring your ankles and knees together. And pull your little toes back towards your face. That's it. Now lift your chest up. There you go. Now walk your heels away from you a little more. Good. And walk your heels away from you a little more. And keep going, but keep your back bend. Can you reach your hands further down? Let's try it different. Walk your heels back until you can grab your big toes. Now, find the back bend. Bring your shoulder blades together. Lift your chest up. Are you able to do it with your, no, you can't. Okay, that's okay. Then draw your heels. You're not going to be able to get a hamstring stretch that way. So then you're going to do what we were working on over here. So you just look, I'm lifting up. Put your hands beside your knees though. Keep your knees together and keep more of a bend in your knees. The tilt of the tailbone is going to give you your hamstring stretch. So get your belly on your thighs and then start to try and lay your belly on your thighs with your collarbones lifting. Don't lift your chin though. There you go. That's it. So you see what's going on over here? This is what you need to do also, is you need to lift the chest and bring the tail back to find the hamstring stretch. And then you can go even further if you can keep your chest lifting, not your chin though. As soon as your chin lifts, like you can prove it to yourself, lift your chin up and see what happens to the stretch. So draw your chin in and bring your shoulder blades together and lift your chest up. That's it. And tilt your tail way back. That's going to give you your stretch.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Do I have to extend my arms when I'm doing it?
It's more, you can just keep it's most important to keep your knees together and your belly on your thighs with a back bend, But make sure with your hands are like this, you're closing. So if you're going to put your hands down beside you, just turn them out a little bit.
Thank you.
Yep. Any questions on Paschimottanasana? Can you say that? Paschimottanasana. So that's that pose. Basically, the name of that pose basically means you're exposing the sunset side, the western side of your body. This is the sunset side. This is the side of your body where it's your junk drawer. This is where we put stuff that we don't want to look at. We put it back there. I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it later. And then later comes and we'll go, why didn't I deal with that at the time? Right? So we're opening that part of our body up. We don't want to blow it out. We want to keep it in alignment. So the back bend comes, the back bend is how you feel the stretch in your hamstrings. The back bend is how you feel the stretch in your hamstrings. As soon as you lose the back bend, you're not going to have the hamstring stretch. You got to keep the knees together, keep the tail back, and keep the back bend up. All right, let's go. Let's do a pose, Uttanasana. Can you say that? Uttanasana. Otherwise known as Uttanasana. So Uttanasana, we do it. There's many different ways to do it. You can do it with your feet apart. I like to do these poses with your feet, your big toes together and your knees together because it makes you do it correctly. Okay, there's too many, if your feet start to move apart, there's too many ways to fudge it so that you kind of do things with the rest of your body to try and approximate the forward fold. So Uttanasana is the standing forward bend. Same thing, you bend your knees and you put your belly in your thighs. Why do we do that? Well, number one, I'm developing strength in my glutes and my quads. Number two, you have people in your class, you don't know if they have a bulging disc. You don't know if they're having cervical issues. They might not even know until it's too late. You don't know if they have injured hamstrings or tight hamstrings. They may not even know until it's too late. So rather than doing a medical diagnosis of everybody, which is impossible because you're not a medical doctor, have them bend their knees. It's better anyway. You strengthen your glutes and your quads. You get bonus work. Belly on your thighs, your fingertips are on the floor. And you drop your head. You don't kink your neck. You drop your head. Same alignment as we talked about before, shoulders away from the ears. You bring your palms to your calves, or you step on your fingerprints with your heels if you're able to. Same thing we were talking about before, knees together, belly on your thighs, shoulder blades on your back. You only straighten the legs more if you can scoop your tail up and you can keep your belly on your thighs and your knees together. If one of those things stops happening, that's where you stop. And you rework into the back bend, you rework into alignment. And once you've gone to your stretch, then you just work on evening up the hips and bringing the shoulder blades away from your ears. To come out of the pose, which is just as important as going into the pose and holding the pose, you drop the seat, working my glutes and my quads. I back bend my chest up, and then I come up out of the pose. Now I've gotten a nice stretch, a nice workout. I've reversed the flow of blood in my body. I've engaged my pelvic floor. I've felt grounded, and I've lengthened my hamstrings and strengthened my quads. Okay? It's quite different than doing a pose like this with no stretch and pulling and risking popping my hamstrings and then coming out of it like this. Do you want to walk around your whole day like this? Then don't come out of your poses like this. Okay? It's stressful. It's really stressful for your body to hold your body like this. Your breath will automatically become very shallow if you're like this. To this, when you hold your body like this, every cell in your body feels like a cataclysm is happening, like something terrible is happening. You start to produce stress hormone. So get your body in a state so that it looks like you're living the life that you want to live going into your poses and coming out of your poses. Because your body's a living prayer. You're always praying for what you want with your body by the way you hold your body. Okay, so hold your body and make your body a conscious prayer. So that's Uttanasana. Going into the pose is important. Going out of the pose is important. To go into the pose, knees together, bend the knees, seat back, seat back, seat back. You bend your knees enough to put your fingertips on the floor. You drop your head. Choose where you can put your hands. Most of us will put them on the calves. We straighten the legs. We bring the shoulder blades together and we scoop the tail up. Scoop. It's all going to be in the tail scoop. Don't round your tail down. You won't feel any stretch. There'll be no stretch if you tuck your tail. You have to scoop your tail back while you're in the forward bend. And then you straighten the legs with your tail up a little bit more, but you're never going to really straighten them all the way. And you find your hamstring stretch, and then you bring your shoulder blades together, and you make sure you're not kinking your neck. So you can even squeeze out your thyroid gland. And if your shoulder blades are together and away from your ears, you can bring your forehead towards your shins. Coming up, shoulder blades together. Remember that trick we did in locust pose? Shoulder blades together integrates the neck so we don't lead with the chin. We can come up. Any questions about going into the pose, coming out of the pose? Yeah.
So when
I'm going to put the mic here so she can hear you.
When I'm in mountain pose, I like to have my feet separated, and how
Yes.
you said when you're in forward fold or Ardha Uttanasana, you can have your feet together. Would you just step out, or would you even recommend trying to keep your feet together for Tadasana?
I would recommend to put your feet together. Because having your feet apart, it's easier to turn your toes out. It's easier to do the ways that your body fudges to go into the pose that you might not even know about. If you have your big toes together and your heels apart, it kind of makes your body start at least with the correct placement. Now, is that a natural stance? Do you ever stand like this during your day? Probably not. But we're deliberately using it to make your body pay attention. Go like this, you can go, oh, yeah, I got to go shopping after, and then I have that phone call I have to make. Your mind will wander. If you're standing like this, it's like, well, there's a little bit of balance here. And then you scrub your heels in without moving. And it's like, oh, wow, this feels good. I'm grounded, like you're present. So it helps you to be present, which helps you to do these adjustments because they're not going to, most of the time, they're not going to be familiar adjustments. They're going to be new. So if you're present, you'll be able to do them easier. So I definitely recommend bringing your feet together. There will be students who just won't do that. They'll think, well, this is the way that I do it, and this is how I'm going to do it. That's fine. You can still do the same alignments. It's just easier to start to feel these alignments if your big toes are together. Yes. Yeah. Same with chair pose. Yeah. Yeah. If you're coming up, you can come into chair pose, lifting your chest up. Same principle applies. Instead of, if you can see your arms, it means your arm is up and your chin is up. So it's like trying to do cobra like that, right? So we want to lift the chest up instead of just lifting your chin up. Yes.
We were having a class yesterday and talking about teaching beginners. So would the assumption be that right from the very beginning in level 1, you would put their toes together and scrub their heels that way, as opposed to them getting hip width apart to figure out the balance issue of putting their toes in heel scrub like that?
In general, yes. Could you all hear what she said? So in general, yes, but with beginners, they may not be able to sense their bodies even to the point of doing it with their legs apart. So you might have to start with their legs apart and then bring them together. It's going to depend with beginners. If you start with people with their legs apart, make sure that their feet are parallel or the toes are turned in. And you can just work on this to see if they can do the tail back. If they can do the tail back, then they can bring the feet together. But if they're doing this and it looks like they don't have the nervous system to do that, then you might want to do your forward bend sitting down instead of standing up. Same kind of progression, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions or concerns before you work with each other? All right, go ahead and find a partner, teach them Uttanasana, all right? And watch how they come out of the pose. Get them out of the pose and help them to build strength going into the pose. You can even start with Utkatasana if you wanted to. Chair pose. So they want to have their tail way up. So just so you see how your hand, this hand is turned in a little bit. What that's indicating is this shoulder's up a little higher. So turn this hand out a little bit, this shoulder to come down, tuck your chin a little bit. Now bring your shoulder blades together and lift your heart forward. There you go. Good job.
Just maybe keep your tips on the ground as you arch your back.
And then also this. That's really good. Yeah. See, then when they're doing it really good like that, do you feel a stretch?
Do I feel stretched?
Yeah.
Barely.
Scoop your tail way up. No, don't straight. See how you straighten your knees to do that? Tilt your tail way up.
Okay.
See how she's kinking her neck to do it? Yeah, yeah. Drop your head. Yeah, scoop your tail way up, way up. Yeah. So now you can fine tune just for future work. You can see which rib cage is shorter, and we can start to lengthen the shorter rib cage. You can see which hip is higher. This is stuff we work on in yoga therapy, but this is just other stuff you could see. So we want to find a back bend, to find a stretch, we want to find a little bit more of a back bend. So bend your knees a little deeper and then bring your shoulder blades way together. Yes, do you see the difference?
Yeah.
Now scoop your tail way up, like you're lifting your tail up. Don't straighten your knees to do it though. It's like a tilt of the pelvis. Can you lift your tail? Yep, oh, yep, you got to soften here and lift your tail up. And yes, you're doing it. Yes, yes, that's it, that's it. Do you feel a little stretch? Yeah, good. Are you smiling? All right, when he's ready to come up, have him do it with strength.
Okay.
Drop his seat first. You got to scoop your tail up to feel the stretch. Excuse me. Once you've done it, then go ahead and switch. Teachers to students, students to teacher. It's all in the tilt of the pelvis. That's where you're going to feel the stretch, the hamstring stretch. You're finding a back bend and your forward bend. So let's stop here just for a moment. So you see how your hands are kind of turned in, especially that hand? That means your shoulder's up by your ear. So if you turn your hand out a little bit, it's going to be easier for the shoulder to move away. And you can drop your head a little bit. And now bring your shoulder blades together. Yeah. And now scoop your tail up and lift your heart towards me. Yes. So it's like you're a little saddle here, and lift your tail up and lift your chest towards me. That's it. Good job. Now you can work on your ham. Do you feel a little hamstring stretch? Yeah. That's really good. That's good. Keep that back bend. Very nice.
What he said.
Yes, there you go. Watch the kink in your neck. No, you were kinking your neck. Oh, okay. Okay, so let's stop right here. Stop. So see what's happening here is like you're doing this. So we're gonna actually do the opposite. We're gonna emphasize this more. So do this more. Do this more. Way in, way in, way in. Do you feel how that's straining right here? So you're gonna turn this out. Turn this. No, you just turned your hands out. You have to actually turn your shoulders out. Apart, 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 apart. There, you just did it. Bend your knees deeper. Bend your knees deeper. Bring your seat back. Bend your knees deeper and bring your seat back away from me. That's it. Now lift your chest towards me. There. Now put your fingertips on the floor. Keep lifting your chest towards me. But you see how your hands are still turned in? Turn your hands out. Yes. And remember, now lift your chest towards me again. So you want to find a back bend. So lift this up to the ceiling. More. Go ahead and come up. So you're doing this. And when I say lift your chest towards me, you go like this. What I mean is to go like this. Okay? Yeah. So be careful because your head will cancel it all. So always keep relaxing your head and bring your shoulder blades together. You were starting to get it. But you got to get your shoulders away from your ears, which means your hands will turn out a little bit to help you. Uh-huh.
We're still keeping that connection
Yes.
with our thighs?
Yes. Yes.
So is it really, I mean, that's what we're talking about. So I'm like, I feel like I lock, like pretty much as soon as I find this, I keep it there and I'm.
That's right.
bending from
That's
here.
exactly right.
So then really there's not much difference from this pose.
That's exactly right. You said it better than I said it. Yeah, that's really good. Very good. Turn your hands out, Brendan, your right hand. Yeah. Now lift your chest forward towards the mirror. Don't use your head though. Relax your head. Shoulders away from your ears. You're using your head again. Relax your head. Lift your chest towards the mirror. That's better. And squeeze these together. No, don't round, don't round. This softens in. This squeezes together. Keep the armor on. Good. Bring your big toes together. You see how your feet are turned out? Yeah. There, that's better. Now drop your seat to the height of your knees. Bring your shoulder blades together. Not a, yeah, there you go. Now back bend up, back bend up. There you go, you got it. You got it, good job. All right, wrap it up and come back to your mat. Thank each other. Is there anybody, do you have any questions, or is there anybody who would like a little help with their Uttanasana? We can fine tune it a little bit if you want. Or any questions? From coming out of the pose? Yeah. So coming out of the pose, big toes are together, knees are together. I'm in the pose. I'm doing a back bend. So instead of rounding my back, I'm actually doing a back bend in my forward bend. That's what gives me the hamstring stretch when I straighten my legs a little bit. To come out of it, I'm going to drop my seat to the height of my knees. That's pretty low. I'll be able to put my fingertips on the floor when I'm doing that, but I'm really working my glutes and my quads. And I bring my shoulder blades together and I lift my collarbones up without lifting my chin. And then I come up with a back bend. Then I can also lift my arms up if I wanted to. That's quite different than coming up with a round back and a kinked neck and raised shoulders. And then if I tried to lift my arms from here, I'm gonna have very limited range of motion because I'm starting with my shoulders up by my ears and my shoulders rounded forward. So I've already locked my shoulders into like 60% of their range of motion by doing this. If I do this, now I can move my arm to its normal range of motion. If I am like this, I'm really limiting my range of motion. I'm just shredding my rotator cuff every time I move my arm or my shoulder. Why is that important? Because I'm reaching for a glass. I'm carrying my suitcase or my purse. I'm opening the door. I'm putting the key in the lock. You're telling your body you're in danger every time you're doing one of those things until you unlock and open. Maybe something happened to you a long time ago that was stressful or anxious provoking or worrisome or even life-threatening, or you felt like it was life-threatening. Doesn't matter if it was really life-threatening. Your body reacted. Your body is still in that state. You have to update your software. So you want to start to open your heart. You practice externally rotating and relaxing down, externally rotating, relaxing down. Then you get full range of motion. Then what happens to your bad rotator cuff and your frozen shoulder? It vanishes like that. It's gone. It's gone in an instant. 10 years of frozen shoulder can disappear in a second if you get yourself in correct alignment and you relax what needs to be relaxed and you begin to strengthen what needs to be strengthened, okay? So we keep preserving these, and we talk about this in yoga therapy, but we keep preserving these old states of consciousness. The body does that because it's familiar. Even pain and anxiety can feel familiar, and the body wants to keep doing what's familiar because that's how you survive. You think you survive by repeating the past, but you don't really want to keep feeling that same old survival-oriented feelings. I mean, I'm assuming that you don't. I mean, most people don't. So if you can start to change the body and how the body works, you start to be able to let go. Your software updates and your body goes, oh, I'm not 12 years old and being made fun of. Oh, I'm not in Afghanistan rolling over an IED. Oh, I'm not, you're just you as you are now, and you're able to move differently than if you were you back then. That might be more explanation than you were bargaining for, but that's, I'm just giving you an indication of how deep we're working here. This is how deep you're working. Yeah.
Would
Would you ever bend the knees and roll up and articulate without the arms up, like rolling and
Oh,
stacking
yeah,
the spine?
that's fine.
Okay.
Absolutely. In fact, that might be better at first to learn how to do it. Because if we start to lift the arms, the shoulder, some people can't lift their arms at first without lifting their shoulders. It's like a package deal, you know? So you can keep the arms down and just keep the back bend and just lift up.
Well, I was saying like sequentially roll up the spine.
Oh, you mean like do that one vertebra at a time thing? You know, that's okay if your knees are bent
Right.
and you finish it up with the back bend. But again, if someone has a bulging disc and they don't know about it, you can put a lot of strain on that one point. And in your class, that might be the point when the disc decides to bother them or to pinch the nerve. So it's just always safer to have the back bend and the tail back. You know, 90% of the time it's fine for that, and that even can really feel good, but you don't know, we have no idea what the other 10% is. So, and it's better to be safe. And then you're also just building strength anyway.
Right.
So there's no downside to doing it. Yeah.
When you're in the pose with your head, are you supposed to just like relax it down and let it round or whatever?
Yeah,
Or
you
are
can let your head round.
Are you supposed to like engage it and press your chin back more?
You can do both. You can relax your head, or you can even do Jalandhara Bandha and squeeze out your thyroid gland. It's fine. As long as your shoulder blades are together and you're doing a back bend with your chest, your head can come down. Yeah. These are good questions. Any other questions? Can you feel how much like it's harder and easier at the same time, right? Like there's so much effort, but can you sense like the goodness of it? Can you sense like, oh, this is good? Once you do it in alignment, then you can start to work on other things, which we haven't even touched on yet, like evening up the height of your hips or evening up the length of your rib cage and starting to cure your scoliosis. There's all kinds of other things you can do once you get into alignment, once you're equally grounded in correct alignment, then you can start to fine tune those things, you know, because you'll have a nice even foundation and you'll be doing it in a different way than your past tension did the pose. All right, well, I hope this was as exciting for you as it is for me. Like alignment is when I'm in a class and I see someone like get in alignment, it's like I get really excited. And that's how I know I'm doing the right profession. So hopefully you can find some way so that you can feel it's exciting for you, because it's really nice to be able, there's nothing wrong with the way you or someone else may be doing a pose, even if we're out of alignment. You're just playing with energy. So we're going to see if we can play with it differently and see how that feels instead. So we're just helping energy to move differently in the body. There's nothing wrong with anybody. We're just exploring how to move and experience the flow of energy a little bit differently. All right, let's take another 5-minute break. Be back around, let's say we'll be back around 4 o'clock and we'll wrap up, okay?